seeing a lot of moko being worn on Māori for just as a rebellion. And again, and it was, I think, collectively Māori worked together to establish certain art schools to revitalise this treasure that has been passed down. So back to your question, when somebody that's of non-Māori wants to have a piece of artwork in their house or on their skin, or it's whether or not they know that, I see it as an acknowledgement and as a huge bridge, a huge bridge of relationship, and it's cool, man.
Do you ever work to educate those people about what it is that they're getting or commissioning?
Yes, so you'll find a lot of artists put hidden ideas and hidden little patterns in there that I know a few artists that love putting in little hidden messages, hidden symbols that just acknowledge the journey of art, whether it be their specific journey or as a whole. Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I have all sorts of series of works that I've done. So a classic example would be behind you is a piece of marble, which has come. A friend of mine managed to source 50 tonne of marble, which in Wellington we have the Parliament, and it's all made out of marble, which has come from the top of the South Island. It was all barged over from the top of the South Island to the North Island, Wellington, and this is what we call tākaka marble. So it was a square block, and what I chose to do was shape a teardrop out of it. And if you have a look at it, there's a piece of metal infrastructure in it. And the reason, because it's come from Parliament, the reason I wanted to sculpt a teardrop was its references to the tears that have been shed, the misjustice that's happened from one race to another. But for a rich person, all they see is a lovely shape and a lovely teardrop. You know what I mean? If I told them more in depth about why I sculpted that, some people would probably be put off, yeah.
I think it's like a rain job.
Yeah. And then people have said to me, is that, when I was sculpting it, are you going to leave that in there? So absolutely. It looks to me like it's like a knife or something that's just been stabbed into.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Hey, so there's lots of hidden messages. But what I'm going to do is just, again, do what we're doing at the moment and just refine it, get it really smooth, and all the grain will all start to come out. But I'm going to put like a twist in it, so that it kind of comes up halfway and then twists, and get it to like a really, really sharp point, and then pin it so it's standing upright over a nice piece of polished granite or basalt. Should look beautiful, but I'll probably title it as Roimata Toro, perhaps, which is basically a teardrop. Māori name for a teardrop. But it's got a cool story. As soon as they tell somebody it's come from Parliament, I think Parliament was built around 1911. So that particular Parliament building. So it's spent its last 100 years in Wellington, which is, again, it's got a pretty cool story, and I think that's what people that like buying art or collecting art like to hear those stories, eh?
Yeah, people do like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of how people who buy art like to hear the stories behind it, I would love to hear about how Māori stories are told through the art form specifically, or are held through the art form, I guess, kept.
So from a traditional point of view, Māori are very figurative people. So we have a lot of figures in our forms and our designs, and we are very strongly, a lot of our ideas are really strong based around what we call whakapapa, which is kind of genealogical links. So in our figurative forms, we tend to acknowledge a lot of ancestors. And there's so many though, like whether you look at a canoe, whare houses, meeting houses, they're all based around ancestors, even canoes. Yeah, they're all based around, tupuna, ancestors, yeah.
I think that Tiaki was telling us about how his tattoo is like based around what the underside of like the boats were.
Yeah, that's right. So he has what is called a puhoro design. So pre-European Māori were very in touch with, in tune with nature. Yeah, we acknowledged a lot of elements and energies around us. So you'd probably, if you you'd see that we've acknowledged a lot of atua gods, and again there's a whakapapa, there's a genealogical line that we reference to those gods. Yep. And a lot of our artwork is based around those atua, and going back to being in touch with nature. The pattern that is on Tiaki's forearm is called a puhoro design, and the puhoro design originates from whales. When they're releasing bubbles, they will they'll work collectively and release a whole heap of bubbles, working a school of fish up to the surface of the water. And once they're at that surface of the water, they've got nowhere to go. Bang, 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 and it's just a big feeding frenzy.
Oh, wow.
So that particular design on his forearm originates from Wales, and you'll see that same design. On the bottom of what we call wakatawa canoes. You'll see that same design, and the reason it's on that canoe is because there's a lot of notches on the bottom of a canoe which trap air. So a pu is a bubble, horo is speed, and it just references to those fast bubbles that are released from whales.
Would you say a lot of Maui art takes inspiration from nature?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. A lot of forms, a lot of events that have happened, like stories that have reference back to certain patterns. Just that, like the story I just told you about the whales releasing bubbles. There's this beautiful pattern around that. And yeah, for sure.
Do you ever get people who come for mako, that's tattoo?
Moko, yeah, tā moko, yeah.
Tamakoi. That you're like, where their idea just feels like meaningless, and you like turn them away.
Yeah, all the time, and it's not their fault, Again, it's not just non-Māori, it's our own as well that are just, and that's what happens when you alienate a race of people. They become, I guess, just a little uneducated, or just it's all new to them, and we're here to help them reconnect with their whakapapa, their genealogical links. That's why we do what we do. So that happens all the time. I have people call in, and some people I end up turning away because they want specific patterns that I don't specialize in. That I've had people call in here wanting specific tattoos done of dragons, and I'm like, that's just not my forte. Go to somebody who specializes in that forte, because I was taught from a couple of renowned moko artists, and that's my forte. I have people calling, some Polynesian brothers and sisters that call in and want, they might have some Samoan patterns that they want done. Obviously they're from Samoa, and I would recommend they go to a Samoan and have those done, because I don't know anything about those patterns, and I won't I wouldn't do them because I don't know, you know.
Justice,
Yeah, it's, I'm just, yeah. The concept of a tattooist or a tattoo is from everyone else's culture. So you can walk into a parlor and you can get something, you know, you want some Chinese writing, or I'll give you some First Nation designs. What do you want? You know, pick it out of the book. What do you want? That's the context in which it's expressed in today. So from a Māori perspective, as a tā moko artist, all I do is moko and acknowledge those patterns, and yeah.
Do you help people, like Maori people who want to acknowledge that but maybe don't know the right way? Do you ever help design their tattoos?
Sure, yep.
What's,
So
like, the
that's
process?
the process is me sitting down and meeting them and sharing ideas, normally over a cup of coffee. And then, yeah, pretty much just they'll just tell me key points, key ideas that they have. I'll note them down, and then it's like fireworks go off in my head to certain symbols of what I can use to acknowledge those ideas, and then I'll just either sketch something up for them or have them take a seat and draw it straight onto them. Yeah, and then I'll explain to them what's what.